Hey, on my Travel Ins podcast, I'm lucky to have Tristan Cole. How are you today, Tristan?
Hey, doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate the time. You singer-songwriter, getting out on the road again finally. It's kind of nice to see new music coming out. How has the last 18 months been for you?
Man, it's been a roller coaster to be honest. Lots
Yeah.
of ups and downs, but trying to just rock with the ebbs and flows and just make the best of it. I'm sure there's a lot of musicians who are out there just in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to definitely rely more heavily on social media just to reach out to my fans since I haven't been able to travel up until recent.
Has it been weird for you? Have you done any live performances on social media?
I have done a few live concerts, and it is a little weird to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love connecting with my fans any way that I can, but it just seems a little more impersonable.
Yeah.
Like just there's kind of like that fourth wall, so to speak,
Yeah.
that it just makes things a little awkward at times. But like you make the best of it, and people seem to like it. So
Yeah, it's just like business people. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I haven't seen some of my accounts and since it started. So we're doing all these Zoom calls and all that. And it's
yeah,
like it's kind of weird. I mean, it's working, but
right.
it's definitely weird. So, w- what does your tour schedule look like coming up for the rest of 2021?
Well, I mean, I'm currently on tour right now.
Yeah.
I've had two stops. We had Jacksonville. I performed at the TIAA Bank Stadium, so Jaguar Stadium, and that was a lot of fun. We had
Cool.
a really good turnout for that. And then this past weekend, I actually performed in Austin
Oh,
over
nice.
at the ACL Live. So that was a really neat experience. It was an honor to perform at such an iconic venue. And next on the books is going to be Pittsburgh, and then I have Buffalo, Oklahoma City, and then there's a few others. So it'll be fun.
I love musicians. Just yeah, wherever. I'll figure it out. You got the next few down, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole flyer is like on my social media. I just
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately can't remember all the dates.
I know that's what's awesome about it. So what kind of music are you doing now, and then kind of your background with music?
Sure. So I'm doing like country pop now.
Okay.
My background, my roots are country, just because I was raised in the South. I'm originally from North Carolina, doing the interview from Salt Lake City, Utah, right now. But there was a time in my adolescence where I was in the pop R&B world. I decided, I guess early on, even though country was kind of my roots, I gravitated towards like Michael Jackson, Justin Timberlake. They were big influences of mine, like growing up in that stage of music.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of wants to find their unique sound. And I think it's taken me all the way up until this current moment to really figure out like where I stand in music in general. But there was also a lot of things in the pop R&B world that have just transpired over the years that I wasn't really happy with. I'm not very pleased with like the direction it's gone. You went from a genre that had people like Luther Vandross and Michael Jackson and
Yeah.
all of these crazy amazing singers who spoke about love, and it was just more of a positive light, to now shifting into a genre that it's not fully this way, but there's just so many artists out there who speak on a negative aspect where it's about sex or drugs or just like very derogatory terms, things like
Yeah.
that. There's just a lot of things that I'm not happy with right now that I wish would change, so that they could get back to where things used to be. And anyways, I'll step off my soapbox,
Oh
but
no, man.
yeah, it's just country music, being that I've been able to mature and I've been able to grow, I just have gone back to my roots.
Yeah.
And I love the aspect of it being conservative. I love that it's family oriented. I just love all the things that country music stands for. All of your country songs always have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. That's something a lot of the music industry outside of country music has kind of lost. They've concentrated more on the beat, or like it's just very hypnotic lyrics. It's not really saying a whole lot of anything, to be honest. And so I'd rather tell that story because that's what music's for. I think that's why artists do music. That's why music lovers listen to music. And so I think I'm
It's
more
so interesting you say that because I think back and I'm older, but I listen to 80s music. A lot of
okay,
my, because that was my era when I was in middle school and high school. And
yeah.
a lot of that music is storytelling and about love and romance and relationships and that, it wasn't the harshness as I say now. But
Yeah.
then, country music, you have Chris Stapleton. And when I think, at least in my head, Chris Stapleton broke out when he did, excuse me, I think it was the ACMs with Justin Timberlake.
hmm Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse
I
me.
do remember that performance. It was really good.
And
I
to hear
think they
somebody
did together.
yeah, that was the first time I'd heard Tennessee Whiskey, and
Yeah.
then kind of heard the kind of a country pop version of some of JT songs.
hmm
So, but with his Memphis background and that, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's interesting. And then you have like we talked real quick earlier about Cowboy Troy who did hip hop. That was kind of his thing,
Yeah.
doing rap, but staying on a positive note.
Definitely.
So, and then I interviewed Maxi Priest, who's a reggae singer, and he said almost the exact same thing you said.
Oh, really? That's really interesting.
He's 59, yeah, almost 60. Oh no, he just turned 60, and three-time Grammy nominated reggae singer. And he said the same. He said he took some time off because he didn't like the trajectory of music. It was all about the beat and it wasn't about the song anymore.
Right.
And
Totally.
so when he came out with his new album, which got nominated for a Grammy, it was kind of went back to his roots of singing about songs,
Yeah.
of storytelling. So it's
Yeah.
just interesting you just said that.
It's good to hear that there's other artists that share that standpoint, because I really
Yeah,
think that's going to save the music industry is if people can get back to storytelling.
I agree. Do you write all of your songs? Do you co-write them? Is there a process for you?
Yeah, I really love being a part of the creative process. So if I'm not fully writing the song, I'm at least co-writing it. And Yeah, that's just kind of a personal preference. I'm more than happy to perform other people's music too. And I've done that sometimes, but a majority of the time I'm somewhere involved in the creative process.
Nice. What are your favorite parts about touring? Is it seeing the fans and
Yeah, I love meeting new people, man. It's
yeah,
such a thrilling thing to be able to not only perform for these people, but after the show, being able to connect with people and just kind of get their feedback. And also, I think that it just helps culture me even more to see like different ways of how people live, different walks of life. It's very refreshing because if you grow up in your hometown, or you grow up in a certain place and you've lived there
yeah,
your whole life, haven't really ventured out, everything kind of is in a bubble, and that's all you really know. And so it's very eye-opening to not only tour with music, but just traveling in general, to see that there's different ways people live. And I just love it, man. So it's fun. I'd say my least favorite
yeah,
part of it though would probably be sleeping on the bus. Just because like it's a little more
yeah,
cramped, and it's cool to be in close quarters with people you get along with and have fun with. But I do remember that we were moving the bus, I think, around to the other side of the stadium in Jacksonville, and I got really startled because I was like out of it, and the bus was just shaking. So I was like, "Oh no!" Like, and my first thought was, "Is there an earthquake?" I don't know why I thought that, because I was on a bus. But
yeah.
anyways, I sat up really fast, and like I didn't realize like how shallow my sleeping area was at the time, and I smacked my head really hard up against the ceiling. But yeah. So anyways, you live and you learn.
Why was the bus shaking? Just because it was
Oh
moving,
yeah, we
or
were going over some uneven ground,
yeah,
so it's like do 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 like this, So I was
yeah.
like, yeah. And
What
then also trying to shower on the bus when it's moving, that's really hard to do.
it's how do you deal with food and diet?
I have some allergy restrictions, so
Okay,
I have to be real careful about things. But luckily, like I'm dairy intolerant and gluten intolerant, and so like luckily there's a lot of places now that are very
now
um I guess accommodating to that. But I mean, you go back even, I don't know, a decade ago, and
wasn't
people,
there.
what's gluten free, like, and it would be really hard to eat anywhere. But Yeah.
At least it's better. I had a musician who was a vegan, and he's been a
Oh,
vegan for almost 30 years. And he
that's
said the same thing. Like, I mean, back 25 years ago, it was, oh, some of the places you'd stop, there was no vegan food,
oh yeah. Having
hard
to
to,
eat like a rabbit at that point.
exactly. And you still got to worry about your protein and everything else.
Yeah.
Uh, that's for me, it's the sleep. I mean, do you have any secrets about how to get better sleep on the road?
Um, I
Like
mean,
for me, I just bought one of those eye masks,
okay.
blackouts.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they help me when I'm 3 hours difference if I go back east. So I'm
Gotcha.
just like all of a sudden I'm whacked out.
I uh I don't know. There is a couple things like my mom's an herbal specialist, and so I'm
Oh,
very much
cool.
into like the natural side of things. So I take some herbal supplements to definitely help kind of get me in the zone of winding down and going to sleep. Whether it's like valerian root or um, there's 5-HTP, GABA, like those are just some things.
Yeah.
But also, I love listening to like frequency music. I'm not sure if like
I just did some of that. I just did my first sound bath last week.
oh, that's awesome, man. Those are so neat.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I there's and even on YouTube, they have like
Yeah.
certain videos you can watch that have music set to a certain frequency. And so I've kind of trained myself to sleep to that. And I know that one time I was in a hotel and my guitarist, it like drove him bonkers. Like he just thought that my alarm was going off and
Yeah.
he was trying to find my phone in the middle of the night to like turn it off, type thing. But so I don't play it around him anymore. But
I
I
did. We play it when we have a dog, and so when we leave to go out, we'll leave YouTube on
yeah.
with the sound frequencies videos playing.
Nice.
It
That's
seems
yeah,
to
I did
calm
that
them.
for my
Yeah.
dog too. Yeah, it's so good. And I wish more people did it. I feel like it's kind of new, and so a lot of people aren't aware of it, but it really helps me a ton, man. Because like everything's vibrational, everything kind of has a frequency that's living, non-living, that's around us, and
Yeah.
some frequencies are really bad for us, and some are really, really good for us, and
Have you done a sound bath?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
those are really awesome.
It was a trip, man, to hear all the different sounds. And she
Yeah.
walked around and would do the I don't know. It was like a tambourine
Mhm.
with metal pellets in it, and it made it
Yeah.
sound like a waterfall.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love those things.
Yeah, we had a friend do one out in Palm Springs, and then we were walking by our local village down here, and she just opened up and she was doing free demos. So we're like, all right, just to get new clients out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can't beat free.
Yeah, she has a Tibetan singing bowls and all that.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
yeah. Those are so cool. Like where they turn around or they go around and around.
Yeah. And all of a sudden noise just starts coming out of it. You're like,
Yeah,
"Great."
yeah.
So that's very random that you mentioned that. I haven't talked to anybody about it because we just did it last Thursday.
Oh, very cool. Well,
Yeah.
it's meant to be, man. Meant to talk about.
There you go. I know. Well, I'm always interested because like I worked at the NFR, the rodeo, 2 weeks a year, 16 days. And
Okay.
everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky." And I'm like, at my age, 16 days in Vegas isn't lucky. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we work every day. It's not like we're not there to go to the rodeo. We're there to work every single day we're there.
Gotcha.
And so I'm hoping like for me, coming from the beach area, when I go to Vegas or even Denver, where it's a really dry uh, climate compared to
Mhm.
where I live, I bring a humidifier with me and put it next to my bed.
Oh, that's smart.
Well, it's better than waking up with nosebleeds and all that. And
Yeah.
so I'm
They've also
hoping,
got these kind. I've used it before. They've got these mobile kinds that has like a mask
yeah,
almost. And just put it on and breathe in like that.
yeah.
So.
So I literally just set it next to my bed on the nightstand and just let it float over me at night. So,
Oh, nice.
but I'm hoping that I'm
Add
gonna.
any essential oils to it.
I haven't. I just leave it just plain water.
Okay.
Kind of nervous about I like lavender because that's supposed to relax you and all that, but
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
we'll try a whole bunch of different varied things to make us feel normal when we're on the road. Yeah. You're in pretty good shape. Do you work out? Do you make it a regular thing, part of your day to work out or exercise?
Yeah, exercise is really important to me. I'm actually a collegiate or an ex-collegiate athlete. Is that how you say it?
Sure.
Yeah. So in college, I played college football, and sports has always been a huge part of my life. But yeah, I work out like 4 times a week, I'd say, just to try to keep the blood moving and just kind of stay fit. I mean, as an artist, being in entertainment, it's looks aren't everything, but I mean, appearance is definitely important.
Yeah.
So I do value that.
I was wondering too. You're the first thing I'm going to ask this question of is, and I don't think about it because I'm just talking all the time. But for you, you're singing. So do you feel like you have to keep up your cardio or your breathe, or have you ever like stopped training and working out and then go to sing and you're like, ooh,
I actually don't do a ton of cardio, to be honest.
okay,
Cardio comes from the sports I play, but if we're
sure,
talking about just like going to the gym, most of that is like lifting weights. And I guess for me, what I found is, you still get that your heart rate up when you're
yeah,
lifting weights, and I think that's the biggest thing is trying to keep your heart rate even or at a lower standpoint, like even when you're performing and moving around, because a lot of your adrenaline is going on stage, and sometimes people get nervous and anxious, which can also raise your heart rate. So I feel like doing any type of exercise that maintains a higher heart rate will just allow your body to know what that feels like enough to not feel exhausted when you're on stage.
yeah.
But
That I mean, that's something I always wonder. Like, 'cause you see people going up and down the stage and this and that, and then and they're
mhm.
smoking and drinking at night, and I'm like, man, that's got to be brutal on the vocals.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I actually just don't really participate in that. But
Yeah,
for people who do, I mean, it's a go for it. But yeah, I totally understand what you mean. I'm sure it is hard for those peeps.
yeah. I mean, it's got to be right.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you're smoking and then trying to sing for an hour, that's got
Mhm.
to be rough. I don't. What do I know?
Yeah.
What I talk. What do you what's the favorite place you've been to so far?
As far as traveling, just with like performing,
Yeah.
I would say I really loved Toronto.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
Toronto, Canada is a really fun place to be. I performed for the Canadian Music Festival a couple years ago, and I've honestly never been to like a big city that is so clean. It's insane how
It's
clean.
insanely clean.
Yeah, and I was
Tokyo's
like,
like that too.
"What's that?"
Tokyo's like that too.
Oh, really? Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that's on the bucket list. I really want to go there. But like at the time living in New York City, it's a big city as well. But there's definitely a lot of aspects to it that aren't clean. And so just going because people were like, yeah, Toronto is kind of like a smaller New York City, and so I was kind of just expecting the same. And so when I arrived there and I saw how immaculate it was,
It's spotless.
I know I don't know
It's
how they.
almost freaky. I mean, I'm from LA, so I'm like you. Like it's kind of LA and New York City. I mean, there's trash. It's like,
Yeah.
and I remember the first time I went to Toronto, went downtown because I worked for a company that was based up in Markham, and
Mhm.
so we go to downtown. This, when the Maple Leaf Garden was still there,
Okay.
and I'm like, there's no trash on the sidewalk, on the street. I'm like, who cleans this up? They're like,
Yeah.
We don't litter our streets." I'm like,
Great.
so yeah, I've always liked Toronto too. It's a beautiful city.
I agree.
Yeah. Where are you, what other than Tokyo? What are some of your other bucket list cities?
Um, I want to go. Let's see, Sydney,
Yeah.
Athens, Greece would be really cool. I'd love to go to like Costa Rica would be really awesome, just
Yeah.
because it's really awesome, amazing waterfalls. And I Bangkok, Thailand is definitely on the bucket list because I really want to ride an elephant.
Okay.
And then I actually had plans to go visit Cairo this year up until this whole like Delta variant started reaching
Ira would
headlines.
be cool too.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been into mythology, and then also like Egyptian hieroglyphics and like just that whole era of civilization. It was really neat.
Yeah, I was when I was a kid, King Tut's museum stuff was going around. So
Yeah.
I think it was fifth or sixth grade that I went to it, and I was just like, and then you know, now that I'm in my 50s, I'm like, pretty cool, you know. Do you go around? I was going to ask you, do you try to make time to go see the sites of different cities that you haven't been to? You know, like when you go to Toronto, do you go, hey, you know, give me an extra half a day or a day, or is it just get in, get out?
I think it just kind of depends on the schedule and time frame of things. Like I have been to some areas where it is kind of an in and out, which is a little bit of a bummer because
Yeah,
I am one of those people who likes to take everything in and just become more cultured with my surroundings. But then, I guess like Jacksonville had definitely had time to venture out, went to Jacksonville Beach and enjoyed some of the sites that way. Austin was a little bit of a just in and out type thing, unfortunately. So I did find some time before everything like happened to walk around downtown a little bit. But I
yeah.
wish I had more just because Austin is such an amazing city. But
That's how I was. Like for me, I used to, because I get to book my own schedule.
mhm.
That was always just let me get in, do my work, and then get home. But I'd come home, they're like, "Oh, did you go see that?" I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't have time." You know, and I'm like, and then you start going, "Man, I might never go back." So let
Yeah.
me. So now I always book extra time to go see a museum or, you know, I love Google, so you can
Oh
just you can look up Google and find different things to find. You know,
yeah. I agree.
that's what I think Australia would be good for you. I mean, country and even pop music is really big down there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was surprised to see how big country music was there, and then also, London kind of has a little bit of a
Hmm.
country scene, and then, Canada, which is
Canada's
surprising.
huge.
Yeah, it's surprising. But all those places would be fun. It'd be really cool to box a kangaroo. I think that'd be cool.
Did you see that viral video of the guy,
Yeah,
the kangaroo had his dog,
I know. And he
and he
just
came out and he right hooked that the kangaroo was like, oh, you know,
like
you kind of like,
he went back, back, back like this, and then he
yeah,
came to. Yeah, it was really funny.
it's like, oh, they're pretty big though. I don't know if I'd want to take one on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you got hit by one, that definitely wouldn't feel very well.
I'd be worried about the leg punch.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would be bad. Yeah, and that's the thing with me. Like, even when it comes to fighting, if I had to choose like boxing or UFC, if I ever tried to get into something, it would totally just be boxing. Like, I'm totally good if I'm just like using my hands, but if someone starts using their legs in there, that's when I back off.
Yeah,
So I don't think I'd ever be tough enough to like do UFC, but I always thought it'd be cool to like do some boxing.
you can do that. I did jujitsu for a lot of years, and so one guy, one of my friends, he's like, "What do I do?" Because he didn't know any jujitsu, and I said, dude, he was a bouncer, and I said, if a guy's trying to grab you or take you down, pummel and get away from him because he wants to go to the ground. Said, there's if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be bad. It'll be a bad time for you.
Oh, for sure, man. They get you in one of those submissions. Game over.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of so I got started selling clothes by selling a line called One More Round, which is
Okay.
an MMA line.
Hmm.
And so I was going around to all the gyms because I knew some of the fighters, and like Hoist Gracie was my first jujitsu instructor. So I knew some of the fighters right off the bat. But dude, if you ever see some of the fights in person, it's like, especially like you watch UFC, so you're watching the best of the best. Go to some
Yeah.
amateur ones and see not the best of the best. You're like,
Okay.
ooh.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, there's some good fights. And Salt Lake City has some. They have
Okay.
some, and then if you get up to Idaho Falls, they do some fights over there, and then Denver too.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, what do you foresee? I'm just really curious. Like when you look down, 2020 was a loss for a lot of people as far as touring, and that's how a lot of musicians make money. 2021, you're booked up pretty much for the rest of the year, I would assume.
Yeah, yeah,
How's 2022 looking?
early November.
Yeah.
I actually haven't focused too much on 2022 yet.
Okay.
So I know that I definitely have like a single release that we're prepping for first quarter.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
be a music video for that. But other than that, that's about as far as I've gotten. Just trying to really stay focused and capitalize on the year that we're in right now. Just
Yeah.
I feel it is such an important year, being that last year was such a bust.
Yeah.
So just making sure that I'm really like just
How does that work? I mean, you're an independent artist, right? I mean,
Mhm.
are you on a so do you have to pay for the video? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, everything is like my management does work somewhat as a invest like an investment pool
yeah.
as well, but a lot of the things that I do come out of pocket. And so it's just a matter of like whatever money that we make off of touring or what have you, it just gets dumped back in.
Merch sales and yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because I watched the John Wayne video and then, you had yeah, it was a pretty good video. I mean, you sit there and you go, yeah, you had the Back to the Future kind of
Yeah.
theme, but you had some. My wife said it's better than most of the professional videos we saw in the 80s and 90s. You
Oh, nice.
know,
Thank you.
because you had some special effects in there and stuff. So it's kind of amazing. That's an
Yeah, no,
independent
it was
thing.
a really fun one. I co-directed that and was able to write the storyline for it, and that was just a really really cool fun video to do. The small western town that we used in the video was actually the same western town they used in the movie Damsel, starring Robert Pattinson. So that was really neat to be able to like utilize that set.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the DeLorean was not cheap to use, but it was really cool because it wasn't just a normal DeLorean. He like
It
completely
was,
decked that thing
yeah.
out just like the replica to the movie. So yeah, it was
But and
awesome.
then I watched the behind the scenes video, which
Hmm.
for me that's like I like watching the video, but I like the behind the scenes stuff.
Okay.
That's how I am. But
Yeah.
it was pretty cool seeing you hammer up the curtains and all that. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to get in on the whole setup thing. We were getting down to the wire with just making sure everything was set before talent came, and so I just jumped in there. But
but I mean that's to me that's cool because you're not like the artist that's just going to show up and just I do
oh,
my
yeah, no,
thing.
I mean, if whatever's got to get done, the ego flies out the window, man. I
Yeah.
just make sure that the product's good.
Yeah, so that's cool. What's the best way? I appreciate the time. What's the best way for my listeners to find out what you have going on?
Well, I mean, my website is really like a good one-stop shop. But tristancolemusic.com, you can connect with me on all my socials. You can stay up to date on like new events and performances like this tour that I'm on right now.
Yeah,
It's got a lot of my videos and music as well. So I'd recommend just going there if you want, but also Instagram, Tristan Cole Music as well. I am there, and I love meeting new people. So if you tell me that you watched this podcast and you want to give me a follow, I will most definitely follow you back because it's always great meeting new fans.
how it works. Yeah, I mean that is the cool thing about social media nowadays.
Yep, I agree.
You know, so do you like? Is it weird for you to have fans come up to you?
No, no, well, I mean, I've
I mean,
grown
you
up.
get used to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up doing music most of my life. So even even having somewhat of like a musical theater background, like
Oh,
just
okay.
seeing people come up to the stage and whatnot, and just tell me what they think of the performance is kind of something I've been accustomed to for a little while. But it's never a dull moment at all ever to be able to get that feedback or to get that interaction.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it's I really appreciate people who take the time to support artists, especially independent artists. I
yeah.
mean, not having that label backing and still pushing my best foot forward. It's kind of tough sometimes, and so no matter if you're a big artist or a smaller artist, fans were nothing. I mean, I'd basically be performing to this wall over here if it wasn't
Yeah.
for my fans. I mean, they're what make the artist. So
Let me ask you this question. I'm really curious because you had some of your YouTube videos are like 900,000 views, and then some are 10,000, 20,000. Do you how do you separate? I mean, like for me, my downloads, I have my most popular episode is not my favorite episode. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
I get you.
and then I'm like, there's some episodes I'm like, man, this is real. This is a great episode. I can't wait for it to get out. And all of a sudden you go, how do you kind of live with the ebbs and flows of a finicky algorithm?
I guess I just try to focus more on the creative side of things more so than like the business side. I mean, the
Okay.
business side is totally important. You got to be able to grow your brand. But at the end of the day, I guess if I'm focused on the numbers and things like that, then I'm not. I guess I'm losing my focus on what is most important to me, which is just sharing my story and sharing my vision, and then just letting the chips work fall where they may, you know. And like you said, it is weird how sometimes some videos that you don't even anticipate going
Yeah.
big, and some that you're like super proud of, and then maybe it doesn't translate the same. But as long as I'm satisfied with it, I think that's the most important thing to me personally. And then if other people like it too, then great. If not, then that's not gonna stop me or, um, I guess, halt me from pursuing the things that I'm passionate
So would you say that that would be your win? 'Cause, my podcast is called The Travel Wins, and
about.
I come up with it because my traveling is if when I go out, if I go to a store on my day job and they don't buy anything, I made no money, and I had to pay for the gas, the food, the hotel, and all that. So I found myself getting really wound up in it, like, oh my god, I got to sell this much, and I broke it down because I was just driving for hours.
Yeah,
But now I make the wins. If I see something new, if I stop and take a picture of something, if I see a new museum, that way I'm not just all about the numbers. And I feel that's the same way with my podcast. I don't try not to focus too much on. Everyone's like, oh, how many downloads do you have? How many listens do you have? And this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I know,
yeah,
but I kind of don't know.
yeah. I would say that would probably be my win for sure. And it's really easy to get lost in the numbers
Yeah.
because there's so many aspects of our life where people do focus on the numbers. Um, but I let it get to me because at the end of the day, like music for my life is here to stay. It's
Yeah.
nothing going to change that. It's just ingrained in me. So no matter how many people are backing that, I just can't ever see myself stepping away from music. It's what brings me joy. So I mean, the more the
Keep
merrier.
going.
Love being able to grow the brand, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep moving.
Well, hey, man, if you get over to Vegas for the rodeo, we'll have to stay in touch.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
You know,
fun. I love rodeos. They're so cool.
well, try and come down to far and perform. There's,
Yeah,
a lot of little stages and things we can. Have you been over to Nashville on Broadway?
yeah, yeah. So I travel quite a bit actually between Nashville and Salt Lake City right now, just
Okay.
because management is there, and eventually I
Oh,
need to
okay.
permanently move that way. But yeah, Broadway is such a cool place. It's insane how many people go down there on the weekends.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like I think they said Memorial Weekend. There was, or maybe it was July 4th. I can't remember, but there was like 350,000 down there. It's
I
insane.
I went there right before Christmas, my wife and I. And I opened up the boot barn that's right there on Broadway, and
Okay.
then but that was a work trip, so we went back just as a vacation trip, and it was kind of weird. In December in California, everything was locked down.
Yeah.
There was no restaurant. I mean, it was lockdown, lockdown. We go to Tennessee, bands are playing at 10 in the morning, and all three levels of all the restaurants and all that have live music, and you're like, I hadn't heard live music in a year, so it was kind of cool.
It is. It's so crazy, and I. It's also interesting to see how the different venues are like competing with one another because all
Yeah,
their windows and doors are wide open, and you got,
wide open.
you said, like a band playing at every single one. So you walk like 20 feet and you have like a totally new song in your ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. I didn't expect that, but it was like, I think it was like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and
Mhm.
they're already playing. And it's like, like you said, they're leaving the windows open, so you can just
Yep.
walk by and like I'm walking by and you look up and like the bass player looks over and goes, "Hey man," you're like, "Oh hey." So,
For sure. And then also, I guess, like, you start to build an audience on the backside of it. Like, if you're the band playing, and then the
yeah,
people actually want to go into the venue to sit down and eat or drink, then people are just outside videoing the band from the back.
yeah. Well, and then like the hotel we stayed off, it was one street off Broadway,
Yeah.
and it had two different venues inside the hotel that had live music. So there was
Okay.
a bar, and it was just like an acoustic singer songwriter, and but it was a stage, and the guy was pretty good. And we go downstairs to the restaurant, and then there was like a full blown stage and a band playing. You're like, music everywhere. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that is really cool, man.
So, hey, like I said, I appreciate the time. I'll let you get going and enjoy your time while you're home, and then
Oh,
we'll stay in touch, and I'll make sure to have all the links on my website so people can just check you out, see what you got coming up.
man, I appreciate it. Thanks so much
Oh
for
no,
it's been really fun.
yeah, thanks, Chris. I appreciate the time, bud.
Of course. Yeah. We'll stay in touch.
Okay, you got it.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.